Well, hello everyone. It's Kathy. Today, let's talk about how to shift from fear-based thoughts and actions to love-based thoughts and actions. What does that actually look like to change our perception from some disturbing situation, from ego thinking to divine thinking? Well, there are only 2 steps in the process. Count them, 2. 1 is catch yourself in the moment thinking or acting from fear. 2, apply the healthiest response that comes from love. Only 2 steps. What could be simpler? Ha! Like so many steps along the spiritual path, it's simple, but not always easy. Let's take a common example we're probably all familiar with. I'm running late. I've promised a friend that I'd pick her up and be with her for an important doctor's appointment. I'm in the checkout line at the store, and a snail could move faster than this checkout person. She's fumbling with the keypad. She's made a mistake. She has to call the manager, and there's still 2 people in front of me in line. I'm thinking, could she be any more incompetent? Why would anyone even hire someone like this? I can feel my blood pressure rising, my chest is contracting, and I'm thinking of all the nasty things I'd like to say to her when I get to the front of the line, if that ever happens. Ring any bells? Let's go back and apply that 2-step process of shifting our thinking from fear to love for this scenario. And I kind of cheated, because the first step, which is catch yourself, thinking or acting from fear, really has 2 concepts in it. First is catching yourself. This is a key concept, spiritually speaking. It is what is known as being spiritually conscious, or aware, or awake. It's the ability to watch what our thoughts are and respond mindfully rather than reacting automatically from our gut without thinking. Spiritual consciousness is to realize that I am separate from my thoughts, from my roles, from my emotions. The real true self, with a capital S, is the divine self. And the divine self is not those nasty thoughts, that cranky consumer, the impatient, anxious personality that's rearing its ugly head right now. That is the ego self, the ego mind. The true self, our divine, is a presence that is always in the background and is an observer, a witness to what's happening in our mind and with our bodily sensations, and it is also the voice of the heart. It can watch what our ego mind is doing and saying and thinking real time. Our true self, our divine self, is that voice that says, hey, stop. What are you doing? You're being mean-spirited, and that's not who you really are, and it's not who you really want to be. Versus spiritually unaware or unawakened people can't catch themselves because they think they are their thoughts and roles and emotions. They're totally identified with those temporary changing qualities and expectations and feelings. They're self-righteous, about their self-righteousness says, I have every right to be enraged at this inexcusable situation. So moving on from catching yourself concept to the second part of that statement, step 1B is thinking or acting from fear. So you want to catch yourself in the moment, thinking or acting from fear. Well, how do we know when something's coming from fear? I might be thinking, I'm not frightened right now. In fact, I'm just the opposite. I am outraged that I'm being subjected to this intolerable situation. I am strong. I am angry. I'm powerful right now. But fear, quite simply, is any feeling or emotion that is not loving. And if you dig deep enough, fear is at the root of resentment, hate, anger, feeling superior to others or inferior to others, experiencing shame, guilt, regret, anxiety, scorn, blame, humiliation, apathy, grief, jealousy, vindictiveness, feeling entitled, needing to please, being critical and judgmental. There are so many expressions of fear. And if you are a member of the human race, you and I have most likely experienced all of these things again and again. Fear is ickiness personified. That's my definition. So in the big picture, what do we do if we are spiritually conscious and we choose to change in this instant from fear to love? Well, the step one was catch yourself in the act, and our divine self helps us by saying, if we're listening, you really are not this cruel, condescending person. You'll feel awful about yourself and you'll spread that feeling to everyone you come in contact with. You can choose differently right now. Which leads us to the second step, which is apply the healthiest response that comes from love. Well, what are these responses, these expressions of love? Again, there are many. Patience, understanding, compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, contentment, caring, appreciation, acceptance, love, peace, joy, kindness. So now, coming from my divine self, my self-talk might sound like, oh my gosh, I don't want to add to this poor woman's feeling of inadequacy and failure she's probably feeling right now. I know how that feels, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I will get to my friend when I get to her, regardless of whether I'm feeling self-righteous and furious as a victim here, or whether I'm feeling empowered by choosing to be empathetic and kind. I won't even remember this incident in 3 days. So let me text my friend and tell her I'm so sorry, but I'm running about 10 minutes late. And note to self, leave the house earlier next time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a shift in perception from fear-based thinking to love-based thinking in the moment. It's a miracle. So next time you find yourself being critical, dissatisfied, or discouraged, catch yourself, notice, thank your divine self for pointing out to you that you have the option for harmony, peace, and happiness instead. Then consciously change your mind. Be kind. Be understanding. Let your divine self shine through. Easy? Not at first, but it gets better the more we practice and build our spiritual muscle. Before we sign off, if you enjoy any of these videos, or for anybody else's videos on YouTube, for that matter, that you appreciate, please click the like, the thumbs up. It apparently really helps in the YouTube search algorithms. And remember that in every moment of every day, you choose to either grow that ego or shine that divine.